Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal, and I'm here tonight with Bruce McCurdy. Welcome, Bruce.
Hey, David. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing very well. I was out at a hockey practice, Jim Fleming's hockey practice tonight, Ian. Or, not Ian, but with my friend Ian. So he is 57 years old, and he's never played organized hockey.
Wow.
He hasn't played shinny in a long time, even 15 years. He's never worn equipment before, but he came out for his first practice tonight, awesome. And he with the intent of getting into hockey and joining a team. So 57 years old and a hockey beginner. So good for you, Ian Lackram. Way to go.
Is he going to join the River City Pigeons?
No, I don't know. We'll have to see about that. We'll have to see. He's going to join, learn to play, and then form a team out of that, I think is the plan right now. So, so next we're going to get you out there, Bruce. That's the plan. We need a goalie.
Uh-huh. We're still going to need a goalie.
Alrighty. So we both watched the Bakersfield Condors game. They lost 3-0 to the Ontario Reign. It was a rather uninspiring game. I've been watching them on and off. This, I think, was your first viewing maybe of the year.
Yes.
Is that correct? So I probably watched 10 games this year. So I have a little bit more to say overall. And you're going to be basing your takes on the game tonight more. So we're going to go. It's two good things each, two bad things each about the Bakersfield Condors. And I'm going to be talking more in general terms, and you're going to be talking more specifically about tonight's game. So, Bruce, let's start with your first good thing. What do you like?
Okay, well, I'm going to actually start with something general, which is Coach Jay Woodcroft, who is somebody that I have been following throughout the year as he does his weekly interviews on Oilers Now. And I've been following him for 2 years since he himself got sent down to the minors after 13 years in the NHL. And I recall making the case for him at the time when everyone was saying, fire all the assistant coaches. And some people were pissed off that he even still had a job, and they thought that Oilers were doing him a solid. But they were actually making a solid decision for themselves, because I think Jay Woodcroft has really thrived in that position. And I really like just the constant theme of positivity that comes from him. And how he builds up his young players. Compliment. Well, he really could be doing this better, but, he's working on this aspect of his game because he knows this is what he has to do to get to the next level. And his whole sort of soft soap routine and buttressed by some pretty sound hockey knowledge, as you can imagine, from 13 years in the NHL. But I think the Oilers found themselves a diamond in the rough there, and they have a good man, unfortunately coaching a less good team this year than it was last year, but I don't know how much of that is on the coach and how much was just on the change of circumstances down there in Bakersfield after all, losing guys like Ethan Bear and Caleb Jones to the NHL.
Patrick Russell.
Yeah.
And Shane Starrett, their goalie, and we'll get into this.
Yes.
And I would add to the good coaching, Bruce. So I like Woodcroft. He strikes me, every time I listen to him, he strikes me as a teacher, coach.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Someone who is new school, and that he's trying to teach various skills, thinking the game. That seems to be his strength. And in terms of development, Bruce, I'd say we've seen really, really strong. The most exceptional development on the team comes from their defensemen. So I think Dave Manson also deserves some praise. Last year, Caleb Jones and Ethan Bear both stepped up significantly as hockey players. And this year, the improvement I've seen in Evan Bouchard's game from the beginning of the year to now it's kind of remarkable. I'm really bullish on Evan Bouchard as a prospect right now. And we're going to get into that. So I would also say Dave Manson is a good thing.
The defense whisperer, eh, Dave Manson?
Well, he can only whisper. That's kind of a backhanded compliment, perhaps, or a clever compliment.
When Sergio Momesso punched him in the throat, and that was what happened to Dave Manson's vocal cords.
His son is a fantastic NHL defenseman. And Dave probably had a hand in that as well. Obviously, he had a big hand, but in terms of coaching him as well. Okay, my good thing will be Tyler Benson. And I see different opinions about Benson. Some people say, he's not much of an even strength scorer this year. The speed isn't great, and then other people are really happy about I think what probably his physical play, his board play, his ability to dig pucks out, and his vision on the ice, his ability to make passes. And so I can see both sides. Like he's not, Kyler Yamamoto is a much quicker player. And that's why I think Yamamoto has been promoted faster to the NHL as well. He just does everything faster than Benson does. Nonetheless, I still see an NHL player in Benson. He's having a similar year to the one he had last year. And I do focus on the things that he's good at. He really is good at winning pucks on the boards.
Yeah.
He's a fairly sound defensive player, and he's got not elite NHL skill, but he's got a high level NHL passing ability. When he gets the puck, he makes a good pass with it, and I can see him fitting in. He can fit on a third line as a checker because he's a smart hockey player, knows how to check, and that may be what he's going to be in the end. Is a really useful third line hockey player. But there's a chance he can play higher than that if he can find a way. There's no shortage of top Oilers who really can fly. Obviously, Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl leading the way. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins and Yamamoto. So he can fit in as a kind of a glue player on one of those lines, checking really hard, making darn sure that he's always in good defensive position, and then just getting them the puck on the fly because he can do that. He can pass the puck well. So I'm encouraged by him. What did you think of him tonight, Bruce?
Much of what you just said. Good along the walls, won some battles, played physical. In fact, he took a couple of runs at guys where maybe he could have maybe played the percentages a little bit differently. I think the 3-0 goal, mind you, the game was over by then. He took a big run at a guy, and it wound up leaving two other guys wide open for the finish. But he wasn't backing down, which I think is a good thing overall. And this was a very rugged game. Like there was a lot more hard hits in this game than almost any NHL game I've seen this year.
Yeah,
They were really going at it, and he didn't back down from that part. And his passing skills, just a couple of real subtle ones, just a soft pass into a lane of a guy that was skating onto the puck with room to do something with it, and that's sort of the offensive moxie. I've commented on Sam Gagner making passes like that a couple times this year, and it looks easy when they do it right, but it's not easy, and it's a gift to be able to make that kind of pass. And Benson, every time I see him, he surprises me with one or two, like just how did he see that lane, and boom, it's in there and on the stick of somebody.
Sam Gagner isn't a bad comp for Tyler Benson.
Mm-hmm.
Similar players in a lot of ways. Hopefully, Benson will be a better defensive player than Sam Gagner's ever been, and a slightly more rugged player. So if
Mm-hmm.
you can imagine Sam Gagner's kind of offensive game, which I think is pretty good. I always like
Yeah,
what he
he's not
does with
bad.
the
Yeah,
puck. Yeah, nothing wrong there.
or
He's an
playmaker
NHL
then
player.
also.
And if Gagner had been throughout his career a stronger defensive player and a more physical player like Benson is, that's kind of what I'm hoping to see out of Tyler Benson. So that's probably a third line, very useful third line hockey player for the Edmonton Oilers, possibly higher in the lineup. If he can get a little faster, I think he'd need to get faster, and we've seen that. We've seen players get faster. It happened with Ethan Bear. So we'll see. Bruce, what is your second good thing?
I will speak to Evan Bouchard, who you already touched on. And he was a player, he literally grabbed my eye 5 seconds into the first period when he went behind his own net to pick up the first shoot in, came out on his backhand side and immediately whipped a pass from a little bit in front of his own net all the way to the blue line, right onto the tape of Josh Curry, who was breaking out of the zone in good position. I thought that's a pretty nice stretch pass, very nice for a backhand play right at the first touch of the game kind of thing. And he continued to grab my attention with his ability to turn defense into offense. He'd start from his own zone, but he is not shy about jumping and jumping regularly, usually right up the center channel of the ice. Like he's not on the boards on one side. He goes up the middle with or without the puck. And when he's got the puck, he seemed to be equal threats to keep it and shoot from the center or to dish it off to either wing and quite comfortably. Like there was one play where he almost looked like a college football quarterback running an option play where he was isolated on one guy, and if that guy shaded towards him, he'd suck him in and feed it to the winger. And if that guy shaded towards the winger, he would have kept it himself. And in this case, the guy decided to attack the puck carrier, and Bouchard waited the exquisite millisecond to release the pass to hit the guy on the blue line to walk into the zone in full possession. So he keeps his options open. Like his offensive awareness is off the charts good to my eye. Like he really knows where the options are. And he never strikes you as being a great skater, but you never see people overtake the guy. Like he sees the lane and he charges up it, and he doesn't, once he starts to skate, he skates. And he is not even necessarily the fourth man on the rush, but he can play that role as well. So the trick is, if you're going to turn defense into offense, is to get better and better at the defense part, where you get the puck and you're able to make the exit. But some of it was just good outlet passes. One was a play where he won the puck along the headboards, and he made one of those Dave Tippett passes right to his own winger, right in his own defensive slot, the place where you're told never to pass the puck. But that's where the open guy was, and that's where the puck went. It was a perfect pass, and they walked it out from there. So I really like his vision and his offensive awareness. He has a gift in that department, to my eye.
Tonight, I was really imagining him and seeing him playing with McDavid or Draisaitl on one of those, in partnership with one of those, joining the play and just being pretty devastating for the other team. Because listen, right now they put the puck back to the point, and often, if you put it back to Ethan Bear, something's probably good going to happen. Oscar Klefbom, maybe, but Darnell Nurse is a pretty unimaginative offensive player in the offensive zone, at least when he's playing that kind of just the O-zone game. And Adam Larson's the same, Russell's the same. Like they don't really create a lot, but Evan Bouchard does. And when he starts making plays with McDavid and Draisaitl in that offensive end, that's going to be fireworks, Bruce. It really is. And for Craig Button to leave Evan Bouchard off that top 50 list, I'm not buying it. I do not. I saw him. We've seen him now. We saw him in his last year. I watched a few of his games, and we saw him. He's a markedly better player than he was when he was drafted. Right. He's really strong now at the AHL level. I don't see how he's not an Edmonton Oilers next year. I don't see it. You got to make room for this guy. Like he's going to help you win games with his scoring, and his defense is okay. Put him with the right guy. Put him on the third pairing with the right guy. Like, I don't know if Chris Russell's still there or whoever it is, Caleb Jones. Yeah. We're going to see some nice plays out of Evan Bouchard, and can't wait.
As for the Craig Button thing, I have all day for Craig Button. I like
Me
him.
too.
I think he's an entertaining guy. I think he's provocative, and he's not provocative in a miserable way like some of them are. But I suspect the weak link there is his last impression is the one that overrides. And it may well be that his last impression of Evan Bouchard is from the World Junior.
Yeah.
He's been down in the minor leagues where, for all the hockey Craig Button watches, I would bet 99% of it is either NHL or draft eligible underage stuff.
That's his bread and butter.
It's the Griffin Reinhart thing, right? It's great. You remember him for what you saw a year ago, but you don't know what he's done since. And so I'm not sure he's seen that. And so anyways, Craig Button aside, I had that same thought tonight that, usually you think, well, if the guy is this good in the AHL, he's going to be this good in the NHL. But if you're talking about a player whose skill is to play with other especially attacking players. The idea of Evan Bouchard playing with McDavid or Draisaitl is way more exciting than the thought of him playing with Brad Malone. Just a simple state of affairs. So, I think, the chances of that those offensive instincts clicking and producing real goals is actually going to improve at the NHL level, then what he like his offensive stats are going to be higher than his NHL equivalent suggests they're going to be. Again, this big question is that defense, because the NHL forwards on the other team will burn a guy who's got any soft edges to his defensive game. But I see improvement in that area. So I think his gaps are better, and he wasn't um, like he used to bug me a little bit by he looked a little bit sort of lethargic or um, what's the word?
Like
Just
Curtis
almost
Foster.
too calm, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Anyway, and I didn't pick that out of tonight's game. I did think he had a
Lethargic. Yeah.
weaker third period than the first two, but he overall impressed with way more good plays than bad.
Yeah. Okay, my other what am I? Oh, my second good thing is Matt Benning. So the Oilers have made a really wise move in sending him down. It's a great week to do it. They got 4 games this week in Bakersfield. We saw what happened with Andre Sekera. He had missed half the year in 2017-18, and the Oilers put him back in the lineup, and he was just terrible. He was like one of the
Right
worst
away.
players in the NHL. They put him back in the lineup without any time in Bakersfield. Now, I don't know if the 5 games in Bakersfield would have made a difference for him, but they sure did the next year when they sent him to Bakersfield, and he got his feet under him, and he came to Edmonton, played third pairing, and he was really good. And now he's been really good in Dallas, to give Andre Sekera credit. I still think the buyout in the end, I think it's a defensible move because they had to make room for a young defenseman at Edmonton. They just had to. You can't keep the same old guys on the team. You got to have movement on the team. They had these guys, Bear and Jones, ready to come up. So I support that move because I don't think they could have traded Russell. And I think Sekera was the right one to move in the end. And it was a tough pill in some ways. But Matt Benning, he's been sent down after 2 concussions in a row. He missed 2 weeks in at the end of November, came back 1 game and got knocked out again. This is
Hit
obviously
in the
really
head.
serious. But Bruce, he looked like he looked really good, and he was throwing some nasty hits, making good
Was he?
plays. He looked like he had not. He didn't look like a player feeling his way out in the game. He looked like a player ready to come down and kick butt, and that's exactly what he did that game. It's good. It's great how much competition finally in depth, competition in depth the Oilers have on their blue line. And I don't know if it's going to impact their negotiations with Nurse or not, but they've got options there, Bruce. And certainly in terms of, what are they going to do with Russell? What are they going to do with Larson? Obviously, they're keeping Oscar Klefbom, but all kinds of options because you have these players like Bouchard and Benning and
Mhm.
uh, Caleb Jones and William Lagesson and Joel Persson. Persson didn't play tonight, eh? All
I think he is hurt.
all of them vying for a spot next year, and a lot of them with again, like you have Jones and Bear, and then now you got Bouchard coming on and Samarukov. He's Samarukov's more on the Caleb Jones, Ethan Bear. It's going to take a while path,
Yeah.
but it's going to be interesting to see where they all fit in. So, but Matt Benning, he's right in the mix. His only disadvantage, Bruce, is he gets more money. He will get more money than the other young guys. Like compared to Jones, if they're looking to save some money salary wise, Benning's, if they just qualify him, he's probably what 2.1 million if they qualify him next year. So that's Jones is only at 850,000. Bouchard's cap hit will be 1.6 million with bonuses. So they have Lagesson would be same as he'd be like the league minimum. If they keep him around, Persson would be around $1 million. So that's the downside for Benning in terms of this competition. So we'll see what happens. But he had a strong game. He's going to get a number of more games, and we'll see him back in Edmonton soon.
His NHL quality just dripped through right from the very beginning. You could see, this is a accomplished player that's above his level. His, he was his composure, his breakout passes, and I mean that's an area that's not necessarily a strength for him in the NHL. Like he has some good, some bad. Tonight the passes were all on the tape. He seemed to have that extra, find that extra half second to pick out his target and make a good pass. He landed one absolutely ferocious check, just decked a guy coming through the trolley tracks. And he took a couple of shots. One guy high sticked him in the side of the head, and I'm going, man, oh man, this guy's just a he's just a headshot magnet. And then at the end of the game, he wound up down and dirty on the ice, scrumming it up with a couple of guys. No penalties. He kept his but he was given as good as he took. But again, his helmet was off, and you're seeing that, and you're going, not in the AHL, please. But he seemed to come out of that intact, and that's the way he's got to play. Like um, he can't be a shrinking violet and succeed.
No.
He's got to play with edge, and when he does play with edge, in my observation, is when he's at his best.
Alrighty, Bruce, let's go towards the bad things. Why don't you just list off your two bad things? You can do
Okay,
both
well,
together.
my one bad thing from tonight's game was well, it's kind of a combined thing, the lack of composure shown by some of the Bakersfield's players, especially the veterans, combined with an abysmal game on special teams where all of the goals were scored on the power play by Ontario, while Bakersfield's own power play had no answers at all. And uh, but it was the loss of composure by veteran guys that you expect to be leaders. Brandon Manning got himself kicked out of this game 6 minutes into the second period. He had an altercation with Imama, a big winger for Ontario that was laying on the body and digging the stick in a few times. I noticed with various players, and he was clearly kind of a edgy, almost instigator type of player. Anyway, whatever happened, he and Manning had an altercation. They each got a 2-minute penalty, and at the same time, Manning got a game misconduct, straight game misconduct. And they listed on the game sheet, it said it was Rule 75.5.2 in the AHL rule book, which is a real bad one because it's an automatic 2-game suspension in addition to the game misconduct. And the referee just right on the ice, out. So who knows what he did or said, but the referee shall report the circumstance to the president of the league for further disciplinary action. Any player assessed a game misconduct under this section shall automatically be suspended for the next 2 regularly scheduled games of his team. So there may be more to be heard from that, but whatever. He got the heave ho. So that was so. The Condors did dress 7D, so they were able to move then Logan Day back to D after he started the game at wing, but it messed up their forward lines. And then Brad Malone, he was in the box for 2 of the 3 goals. He took a dumb tripping penalty when he was down on the ice in the center ice zone, nothing play, and he swept his stick at a guy and he took the skates out from under him. Just after they'd scored on their first goal on the power play, and they scored again right away, and that was it, 2-0. It stayed 2-0 until almost the very end of the game. So that was just a dumb penalty. But at the end of the game, he they were down a man, killing a penalty, and he took a big run at a guy. It was an obvious penalty. The ref had no choice but to put him 2 men down. And then he overreacted further and took a second minor and a misconduct for continuing the altercation. And so he wasn't actually in the box. He was in the dressing room by the time they scored that third goal. But it just basically took his team out of whatever dwindling chance they had, went to 0 with that one move, and it just was a loss of discipline. Like there was just no sensible reason for him to play the way that he did, other than he wanted to nail somebody.
My bad things, Bruce, are more general things about the team.
Mm-hmm.
The big reason they're not competing like they did last year. There's 2 big reasons, I think, personally.
Mm-hmm.
And it has to do with changing personnel. And One of them is in net, where Shane Starrett was such a rock last year, and this year he's been hurt. And Stuart Skinner has struggled. He struggled in this game. The first goal against, I thought, was an outside shot, and you'd hope your goalie would have that one. He shows signs. Sometimes Stuart Skinner looks like a goalie of the future, and other times he looks like it's not going to happen. He's just 20 or 21, so it's too early to tell. But they really, really miss a veteran goalie. It's the number one reason this team isn't winning this year as compared to last year. The other reason is, this is my second bad thing, is they really miss Ryan Stanton, Caleb Jones, and Ethan Bear. Now, it's good news that Bear and Jones were promoted. It's bad news that they lost the veteran presence, though, of Stanton, who was playing for the other team tonight. He was, I thought, their most settled defensive defenseman last year. He was constantly making good plays with the puck. He's just a good hockey player, Ryan Stanton. Like I think he could play in the NHL, at least as a seventh D. He's a good hockey player. And at the AHL he's an excellent hockey player. Keegan Lowe isn't. Like Keegan Lowe had the 2-year contract, and I know like I think he's the captain. He's a veteran presence on the team. He's not the player that Ryan Stanton is. He struggles. Like honestly, he's just an okay AHL hockey player, and
he's a heart and soul guy.
Yeah, fair enough. But
but he's not a good passer. And,
no, he's not.
Yeah, he's sloppy passes coming from his side of the ice.
And they really miss. So they've lost 2 really good passers at this level, and then their best all-around defenseman was Stanton, this veteran guy who made a huge difference on the team last year, and so that's more of a personnel decision that was made within the organization. So that's how it's breaking down. Did you have another bad thing, or are we?
Well, I was going to talk a little bit about the goaltending, and maybe I'll flesh out what you said a little bit. But between the 3 guys, I mean, the Shane Starrett injury has really messed up the entire plan. He's the organizational number 3. He was definitely the number 1 man in Bakersfield last year. He had a brilliant season. And this year he got a groin injury early, and he keeps coming back, and then he keeps re-injuring it, and he just has never gotten in a role. He's only played 10 games all season. He's got an .881 save percentage, and the 2 young guys that are trying to, getting way more work in his absence, especially Stuart Skinner, 27 games played, but he's rocking an .890 save percentage, and Dylan Wells in less action, .878. Well, anytime you have a save percentage that starts with 8, it's bad news. And when you have 3 goalies and they all have that save percentage, it's no wonder
that's just killing you.
They've got 16 wins and 23 losses. I've seen highlights of games and certainly heard reports of games where it sounded like Bakersfield were the better team, but the other team had the better goalie. And tonight, it was true to a degree. I mean, Skinner made a lot of good saves at even strength. He got a lot of help from his posts. There was 3 clean goal posts. But as you say, he was beaten short side, a great shot by Martin Ferk. And he was, I thought the second goal kind of went right through him because he couldn't seal off the bottom of the net. And really, that was it. He made saves later to keep his team in the game. Well, they were down 2-0, and they stayed down 2-0. So you could argue whether they were in the game or not. But it was the fellow at the other end, Peterson. He had a terrific game, and that was a big part of tonight's story for sure.
Yeah,
there are 2 teams out there after all.
I don't know what they can do. Should they bring in another veteran goalie to help this team win, make the playoffs? Because making the playoffs is a good developmental thing. It's a good boost for everybody. I would do it. Like, I think they should bring in an AHL goalie to, if Starrett's not good to go, just bring in an AHL goalie, and because this isn't working. So I hope they do that. They should have done it a month ago.
A win tonight would have put them into 4th place in the Pacific.
So they're within fighting distance. So give them a chance.
Ontario was 2 ahead of them. With Bakersfield having 2 in hand, now they're 4 ahead of them, and it's just that steeper hill. It's already the 8th game between Bakersfield and Ontario. It's rather than being part of the AHL, it's like it's their own league where they play almost all their own games against each other out there in California.
Find some team that needs a defenseman. Like they've got a surplus of defensemen down there. Find some team that needs a defenseman and trade them like Logan Day or Kulovich or Jake
Brandon Manning.
Kulovich. Yeah, good luck with that.
Get rid of
But
that cap hit.
yeah, just they could figure out a trade. So
Yeah.
hopefully that's what's going to happen. All right, Bruce, let's leave it there. I will we'll leave it there, and maybe we'll watch another Bakersfield game and do this again later this week. Thanks
All
for
right.
talking.
Yeah, sounds good, David. Thanks very much. Thanks for listening, everyone.
And in the meantime, and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.